graders, it's Mrs. Kenney. I am sitting up here in Drew's room again. I moved myself a little bit. Now you can see he's also a Bruins fan, Celtics fan, Hampton Broncos. A lot of sports stuff in this room. I just want to check in and see how you guys are doing. I still miss you like crazy. I wanted to read a little bit more of our story to you and ask you a few more questions. I hope that you are doing okay, and I really enjoy hearing back from you. A few of you have sent me a quick email, answered a couple of questions, and said hello, and I'm really enjoying that. So if you get a chance, I would love to hear back from you. So let's read a little bit more of the story of the SeaDog. So, as you remember in the story so far, Kyle and his mom went out looking for treasure after a big storm, and they found a dog. And they kind of brought the dog. He was very ill, and they kind of brought him back to life. And they named him Treasure, and they kept him. And Kyle really fell in love with him. And then one day when they were walking on the beach, a man was walking along the beach, and the dog ran up to the man, and the man said that that was actually his dog and that the dog's name was Otter. And so now Kyle and Bill and Kyle's mom are talking about how he came to have this puppy in the first place. And we remember that Bill had a daughter named Tia who grew up and moved away. And when she moved away, he felt very sad. He didn't really even feel like boating that much anymore. But when she left, she gave him this little puppy, and he took the puppy for a ride on the boat. And he really didn't pay a lot of attention to the puppy. He put the puppy down, and then all of a sudden he realizes that the puppy has gone overboard. So I'm going to read one page that we read last time, and then I'll carry on. At the end of this, I'm going to ask you a couple questions about how Otter got her name, and also about Bill and his character and some things that we've learned about him. So be thinking about that as you listen. I saw it again on the next wave. It was too small for a seal, I said, but too black for an otter. There was no one to hear me. Maybe I was talking to Lady Tia. Maybe I was talking to myself. I put down my pipe. Green and white waves tumbled and splashed. The black speck was hard to find. It rose and fell with every wave. Wind and tide pushed it away. Soon I could barely see it. Then I had a terrible thought. I leaped from my seat. I ran down the ladder. The puppy was not in the cabin. I ran back outside. I stepped to the dock. How did she get out there? I untied the bow rope. She won't last much longer. I untied the stern rope. It's all my fault. I pushed the bow out from the dock. I need to save her. I stepped on board. Chapter 6. I pulled the line to raise the mainsail. That big white sail rose up, up, up. It rose to the top of the mast. Wind filled the sail. It puffed out like a white balloon. Lady Tia leaped forward. She danced over the waves. Water gurgled behind her stern. A little trail of dimples followed behind us. I set the sail and turned the tiller. Lady Tia turned her nose to the sea. Lady Tia slapped through the gap in the open sea. Her bow dipped and rolled. Waves splashed over her side. I held the tiller steady and searched the choppy waters. Waves broke into white foam. Chunks of driftwood bobbed up and down. Seaweed tangled together, but the little black speck was nowhere to be seen. I felt worse than lonely. I felt terrible. Poor little pup, I whispered. She must be lonely. Maybe she's looking for her mother. I should have never left her all alone. She must have climbed the ladder. She must have fallen overboard. I didn't even hear the splash. I turned Lady Tia's nose into the wind. Her mainsail flapped. Lady Tia stood dead in the water. I stood up and searched the white-flecked sea. Nothing but driftwood and seaweed pulled loose by the storm. No sign of a little black puppy. I knew she must be tired. She would not last long in that cold water. The sea looked empty, lonely and empty and sad, but I couldn't give up. I fixed the tiller in place, then I crept over the deck to the mast. I pulled the line to raise the jib sail. The jib rose up and up. It flapped in the wind. I crept back to the tiller. I pulled the lines to make both sails puff out. Crash! The boom swung over my head. Lady Tia bounded over the waves like a deer in the meadow. I sat down to steer Lady Tia in a big circle. As I steered, I searched the waves for a tiny black speck. but I didn't hold out much hope. Too much time had passed. Chunks of driftwood bobbed up and down, seaweed tangled together. Cold salt spray tickled my face. Water gurgled around Lady Tia. The rigging creaked and groaned and yipped. Now, Lady Tia, there's a sound you never made before, I said. Yip. The yip was weak, but my ears were good. I knew it did not come from Lady Tia. It came from the sea. I studied the tangled seaweed. I looked at the driftwood. Some pieces were small as a twig, some were big as a tree. One piece was wide and flat. It floated low in the water. Long brown kelp and thin green eelgrass covered it. The seaweed moved ever so slightly. Aha! I cried. Now aren't you a smart little pup? I turned Lady Tia into the wind. She stopped dead in the water. The flat chunk of driftwood floated closer. I leaned over the side. Chapter 7. I leaned over so far my fingers touched the water. I leaned so far I almost fell overboard. The driftwood bumped against Lady Tia's shiny white hull. It bobbed up and down. It drifted close to my hands. Aha! I scooped it out of the water. It was a huge clump of dripping wet seaweed. I laid it on the deck and lifted handfuls of seaweed. I tossed the seaweed overboard. Underneath was a wide, flat board. On the board was a very tiny, very wet puppy. The puppy's eyes were closed tight. The tip of her little pink tongue hung out from her mouth. The puppy didn't move. Oh, puppy, I said, I'm so sorry. I should never have left you alone. I should have never let you fall overboard. Very gently I picked up the puppy. I put her on my lap and rubbed her tummy. Water trickled from her mouth and she shivered. This was a good sign and a bad sign. It meant the puppy was still alive, but she was very cold. I needed to warm her quickly, so I took off my wool sweater. I rubbed the pup all over and then I tucked her inside my shirt. She snuggled up against my stomach. Ugh, I said to the cold, wet pup. You are as cold as the sea. I was cold too, so I put on my damp wool sweater. I turned Lady Tia around. Please live, I whispered to the pup. I'll take you home and warm you up. The pup snuggled close, wet and cold and shivering. As soon as I tied up Lady Tia, I started along the dock. With both hands, I clutched that cold little lump against my stomach. We're almost back to the car, I whispered. I'll turn on the heater and you'll soon be warm. A woman on the dock gave me a strange look. Hey, Captain Bill, she said, why are you talking to your stomach? I need to hurry home, I told her. I walked across the parking lot. My sweater was wet. I smelled like seaweed. We're here, I whispered. A man in the parking lot gave me a strange look. Hey, Captain Bill, he said, why is your stomach moving? I need to hurry home, I told him. On the way home, that little wet bundle lay very still. Please live, I whispered. I promise to take good care of you. At home, I lifted my sweater, I untucked my shirt, and I pulled out the little black bundle. The pup shivered. I phoned the vet. She told me what to do. I laid the pup on the hot water bottle. I wrapped warm towels around her. I held her on my lap. Then I heard a strange sound. Is that your rumbly tummy? I warmed some milk, but she wouldn't drink it. Then I had an idea. I carried the pup to the house next door. A big family lives there. Hi, Bill, the mother said. Do you have a baby bottle? I asked. What a cute little pup, she said. Does it have a name? I thought for a minute. I think I'll call her Otter, because she oughter have drowned. Otter liked the baby bottle. She sucked and swallowed, sucked and swallowed. She drank all the milk, then she yawned and went to sleep. That night, Otter curled up in my bed. She slept under my blanket, warm and safe. Chapter 8. For 2 days, Otter slept most of the time. On the third day, she woke up bursting with energy. She wrestled with my hand. She chewed on my fingers with her little puppy teeth. She ran around in circles, round and round and round. The next day, I took her to the beach. Otter ran straight for the water. She splashed into the cold sea. She started to swim away. Otter, I called, come back here. Otter turned around. She swam and ducked underwater. At last, she swam back to shore. I scooped her up. Otter is a good name for you, I said. You swim like an otter. Otter grew. She drank milk and grew plump. She ate puppy food and grew bigger. Every time I took her to the beach, she went swimming. One day we went to a pet store. I bought a bright orange life jacket. Then I bought a cardboard sign and a black felt pen. I carried Otter along the dock. Lady Tia bobbed gently at her mooring. I stepped aboard. I tied one end of the rope to Otter's life jacket. I tied the other end to the cleat on Lady Tia's deck. That will keep you safe, I said. I sat the chubby puppy on a seat. I picked up the sign. I wrote my phone number on it. I taped the sign to Lady Tia's window. The sign said, foresail. A sea wind ruffled my hair. The smell of salt tickled my nostrils. My heart felt heavy. I would miss Lady Tia. I looked at the seat where Otter be. My heart did a flip-flop. She was gone. Otter, I cried. Then I remembered the rope. It snaked along the seat. It climbed up to the deck above the cabin. It trailed across the deck to the mast. A tiny black tail no bigger than my finger poked out behind the mast. It wagged as fast as a hummingbird's wing. I climbed to the mast. I looked down at the pup. Her little black nose pointed toward the sea. Salty wind blew her ears back. Her mouth opened in a puppy smile. Her little body shook with excitement. So you want to go sailing, do you, Otter? I asked. Well, I guess it won't hurt. We'll take the Lady Tia on one last sail. But mind you don't fall overboard. If you do, you'll never get near a boat again. Otter sat on the seat. She watched me untie the boat. She watched Lady Tia slide through the gap. Her little pink tongue hung out. She watched the sails go up. Her head twisted to one side. Wind filled the sails. Lady Tia heeled to one side. Water gurgled behind her stern. Lady Tia pranced into the waves. A warm little body snuggled up beside me. Otter sat up straight, her nose pointed into the wind. I patted the top of her head. Her tail wagged. You're a real little SeaDog, I said. Soft sea spray touched my cheeks. Green and white waves tumbled over one another. I smiled as we headed out to sea. That evening the wind dropped to a gentle breeze. The waves smoothed into a rippled sea. I steered Lady Tia toward the harbor. Otter watched me light my pipe. Her head turned to one side. She watched me clutch it between her teeth. Her little pink tongue hung out. She jumped to the floor. She sniffed at the stick of driftwood. It had been there since I had pulled Otter from the sea. She picked up the stick. She climbed back on the seat. She sat close to me. Otter chewed on her stick. I puffed on my pipe. Lady Tia sailed gently in the wind. When we got back to the marina, I took the for sale sign down. All right, boys and girls. So we're finding out that this dog, Treasure or Otter, has had a couple of adventures where she's ended up in the water. So today I want you to answer two questions for me. First, I want you to tell me, how did Otter get her name and why was that a good name for Otter? And then at the end of the chapter, the very last bit that I read to you, it said that when they got back from their sail, that Bill took the for sale sign down off the boat. And I want you to tell me, why do you think that he did that? All right, so those are the two questions for today. I look forward to hearing from you. I miss you. I hope that you're doing well. Can't wait to get back to school and see you guys in person. All right, bye-bye.